Jingran is about to completely disrupt the Wuthering Waves fusion meta, but because his entire damage formula throws out traditional attack scaling, pulling him without understanding his exact mechanical requirements could severely handicap your account. The current endgame is punishing and investing your premium currency into a unit that operates on a completely isolated ecosystem is a massive risk. Today, we are tearing down his exact kit mechanics, isolating the math behind his yin-yang dual forms, and running the numbers on his dedicated echo set to see if his rotations actually translate to top-tier sustained damage. By the end of this video, I will give you a definitive, zero-hype conclusion on whether Jingran is a mandatory account upgrade or a highly restrictive luxury pull that you should absolutely skip. Now, let us get straight into the character breakdown. To be completely transparent, a portion of this next part is pure leak territory originating from the beta network, so while his core identity is officially locked in, specific motion values and internal cooldown timers are still actively shifting. Here is what is officially locked in versus what is still actively shifting. What we know as absolute developer fact is that Jingran is a fusion main DPS wielding a broadsword who completely abandons the standard attack scaling formula used by most damage dealers. Instead, his offensive output is heavily tied to his maximum HP. Based on early beta showcases, optimized endgame builds are comfortably pushing nearly 50,000 HP, demonstrating just how valuable heavy health investment is for his overall performance. This fundamentally alters the way you must draft your teams. Standard attack buffers who grant flat attack or percentage attack bonuses will inherently offer severely diminished returns for Jingran. You are essentially building a hyper bruiser who completely changes the philosophy of choosing between offense and defense because every increase to his HP simultaneously improves his survivability and his direct damage output. The absolute foundation of Jingran's on-field presence is his yin-yang dual form system, and this is where his gameplay separates the average players from the optimal ones. You are not just swapping in, quickly using every available ability and immediately switching characters. Jingran demands extended, calculated field time, constantly alternating between two opposing forms that represent the balance of yin and yang. This is not a cosmetic toggle or a simple visual flair. It is the core engine of his combat system. Rather than one stance being stronger than the other, both forms complement each other to generate resources and maintain combat momentum. Every time you transition between these opposing stances, you actively manipulate his circuit gauge. Instead of the frantic quick-swap playstyle, Jingran rewards a highly methodical rhythm where every single action contributes toward a much larger payoff later in the rotation. The critical mechanical hook here is his circuit management, which dictates his entire flow of combat. As he attacks and utilizes his yin-yang transformations, he continuously generates circuit resources. These resources natively unlock access to his strongest defensive tools, specifically allowing him to frequently gain and maintain shields throughout combat. These shields are not simply passive defensive utilities meant to keep him alive. They are directly integrated into his rotation, allowing him to remain safely on the battlefield to continuously build pressure without being interrupted. Once you have accumulated enough circuit through this continuous momentum, you unlock his enhanced heavy attacks. These empowered strikes act as the absolute climax of his entire rotation and serve as the primary source of his overall damage. If you mess up this sequence by spending resources too quickly instead of steadily building them, your damage output plummets. All of this meticulous preparation feeds directly into his Resonance Liberation, officially titled Extinguish the Life Lantern, Open the Gates of the Underworld. When activated, Jingran extinguishes the mysterious life lantern that accompanies his character model. As the light fades, a massive, ghostly gate emerges from the battlefield, physically pulling nearby enemies into an independent supernatural realm where the battle continues. From a sheer visual presentation standpoint, this is one of the most cinematic and memorable ultimates Kuro Games has designed to date. But mechanically, this underworld domain is where your sustained field time pays massive dividends. It reinforces his identity as a mysterious figure walking between the living world and the underworld, locking enemies into a confined space so your enhanced heavy attacks land plan with maximum impact. To make this entire engine run efficiently, you have to look at the newly revealed Echo set, the Lamp of Nether Road. The synergy here is so mathematically precise that it essentially forces Jingran into this specific set, removing almost all build variety. The two-piece bonus provides a flat 10% maximum HP increase, which instantly raises his baseline damage floor by complementing his exact scaling mechanics. But the 5-piece effect is where the scaling gets extremely aggressive and dictates his entire playstyle. Whenever the wearer receives a shield, they gain a 5% critical rate buff, which can stack up to 4 times for a massive total of 20% critical rate, and it does not stop there. The exact moment you hit that 4th stack, the set instantly grants an additional 15% fusion damage bonus. Because Jingran's kit naturally generates and refreshes shields through his yin-yang circuit loops, an optimal player will maintain that 4-stack maximum with near 100% uptime during their damage windows. This fundamentally changes how you roll your echoes and tune your stats. With 20% critical rate inherently built into his artifact set, gearing becomes significantly easier, allowing you to heavily prioritize critical damage and HP percentage substats across the board. This brings us directly to the honest value caveat, because we have to talk about the definitive downside to Jingran's kit, and this is where I need you to evaluate your account critically. Because his scaling is entirely dependent on maximum HP and constant shield generation, his flexibility is incredibly rigid. He is effectively isolated from standard tech scaling team compositions. If you already have a heavily invested fusion damage dealer handling your endgame content, pulling Jingran is strictly a luxury move that your account does not mathematically need. Furthermore, his absolute reliance on the Lamp of Nether road set means you are going to be spending massive amounts of stamina to farm an entirely new ecosystem of HP scaling echoes. Your pre-farmed attack-focused sets are completely useless on him. He requires a ground-up build from day one, and he demands significant on-field time, which might clash with players who prefer fast-paced ability dumping. So, what is the final objective verdict? If you are a new player, or if you desperately need a main DPS who literally refuses to die while brute-forcing the hard-ass boss encounters through sheer 50,000 HP scaling and constant shielding, Jingran is an absolute monster of an account upgrade. He is a self-sustaining bruiser who brings a totally refreshing, methodical rhythm to Wuthering Waves combat, rewarding players who master his dual-form transitions and circuit management. But if your roster is already saturated with hyper-invested standard damage dealers and you absolutely despise the idea of farming an entirely new, highly niche echo set just for one character, he is an easy skip. You are better off saving your premium currency for a more universal unit that elevates your existing roster without demanding exclusive field time. Let me know down in the comments if you are saving your pulls for the Underworld Gatekeeper, or if you are holding out for the next major patch cycle, and I will see you in the next breakdown. Save up to 24% on your top-ups using Loot Bar. It's a solid way to save money. For example, the 6,480 Lunites pack costs around $76 on Loot Bar compared to $100 in-game. The top-up process is very straightforward. Just pick your pack, log in through their single-use cloud device, redeem it in-game exactly like the official store, and then log out. Loot Bar is widely used and has tens of thousands of reviews on Trustpilot, making it one of the most trusted platforms for in-game top-ups. Link to Loot Bar is in the description.